What's up? See how happy I know it's a subject that you shouldn't be smiling at, but this is called what therapy looks like. Okay. You guys like my sweatshirt? Look at this. Can you see it? How cute, right? It's from Mother of Wild. Do you guys know who that is? Check them out. I'll tag them in the description so you guys can find her on Instagram. She's fantastic. She's actually in one of my episodes. So if you want to listen to somebody who just will bring you so much peace and light, listen to Mariah's episode with Noah. So good. So here's what happens. You just listen to Erica and Verity's episode 6. And so what I typically do is just kind of go over everything that we talked about, throw in some detail that maybe wasn't said, kind of put my own little perspective in there. And then you guys have the ability, if you'd like to comment. I wish it was interactive. I mean, I'm working on that, but this is just a really good time for you to kind of like put your perspective in there. I'd love to hear what you guys think. And also just to kind of, I don't know, just hear me kind of give my perspective and my experiences and weigh in a little bit more about what we talked about. So here we go. And I have notes, like literally there's nothing fancy. We don't have time for this. So Erica and Verity's story is by far one of the most horrific stories that I've heard. I mean, it's so many levels of just horrific. And then to find out that it was preventable, that it shouldn't have happened, is beyond what the capacity of a human being should have to deal with. So Erica, to me, is just, she doesn't like this, but she is the beacon of strength for me to be able to come and talk about this so openly. And, you know, it's kind of one of those things where like you see somebody living this horrific reality and able to smile and able to help others and also still admit that she too is still suffering. I mean, it's just such the balancing act, and she does a wonderful job, and I really enjoy talking to her, and we still talk, and she's a big part of my journey. So I'm super appreciative of that. So we both lost our first child, and I think that is kind of a topic that I talk about sometimes, but not too much. Typically, people already have a living child or soon after have already had, quote unquote, the rainbow baby. Not your girl. I still only have Brody. Hopefully that changes soon. It's another episode. But it's different with your first because, and this is why. I'm not saying it's worse, and I'm not saying it's better. For starters, the perspective of not having a reason to get out of bed in the morning is really challenging when you lose your first. The deafening silence of the house that you thought was going to be full of baby screams and toys and, you know, eventually laughter and coos and all that. So not there. People with children, though, had a reason to get out of bed. So they kind of just kept going, and they had to take care of people. And, you know, it's up to you what you think, if that's good or bad. I don't know. I mean, truthfully, a reason to get out of bed would have been great. But also the days that I had heavy grief, could I have functioned as a mother? Yeah, I would have figured it out, but I don't know. I think, though, this is where it gets really rough, losing your first. You immediately, when you get pregnant, realize your purpose is to be this baby's mother. Your purpose is to carry the baby, keep it safe. Then when it's born, your purpose is to mother it, to keep it alive, to nurture it, to love it, to teach it things, to do all these things. When your first dies, that's gone. I am not a mother to a living child. So what am I? You know what I mean? Like, and especially since you like shelve everything, like my work, I had started to put it on a little shelf because I was like, I'll get back to you once I'm done, you know, being Birdie's mom for a minute, you know, but you have to go back to all that. You have to just kind of look around and be like, what am I? And not that you're losing your self-identity. Don't get me wrong. You always should have your own self-identity, especially being a mother to a living parent. Absolutely. Have your own thing. You need it. It's healthy. But you get my point. That purpose is gone. To a living child, gone. So then, you know, you're kind of like, what do I do with my days? You know, just trying to figure it out. we talk about grief isn't linear, and let me explain that. A lot of people say that you go through the different aspects of grief, and a lot of people say or think that you start with, I don't know, depression, and then you start with anger, and then you move on to, I don't know, for example, acceptance, and then you're kind of like in the clear after that. That's not it. You'll go back to anger, you'll go back to depression, you'll go back to all of them. And sometimes I do that in like one day, like over coffee. And I've made that joke before because it's like, wow, the roller coaster of grief. And some people said, I mean, I've talked to other lost moms that have been like, I had a setback today. I had a really bad and really heavy grief day. That's not a setback. That's just part of this, okay? That's where, you're doing well. You're having some really great days where the happiness is at the forefront and the grief is just kind of chilling. And then some days it switches. Grief is at the forefront. Happiness is trying to find its way up there. From what I've been told later on over time, years, that switches, that it's going to be happiness at the forefront, and grief just kind of makes its way whenever it needs to, whenever you need to honor it. And I really like that concept. If you haven't, it's not up, well, it's up. You need to listen to Bliss's podcast. She talks about this a lot. She's 10 years out from losing her baby, and it's one of those things where she's kind of like, grief makes its way, and then you honor it when it does. It's not like how, I'm 10 months out at the point of this recording, and it's like just fighting grief off all the time, but it's not linear, and there's no such thing as setbacks. Not at all. It's right in the wave. Getting answers after death. We talk about this. So Verity was born alive. She was not a stillbirth. So this is baby death. This is child loss. So it was a mismanaged home birth. So I asked Erica if she was, how did she feel finding answers? I mean, I got to be honest with you. And this goes to stillbirth as well. In the interim between Brody's death, first of all, and I've talked about this, the doctors had nothing for me. It was a fluke. Oh, it was like getting struck by lightning. Oh, it was like winning the lottery. It'll never happen again. You could try again. What? I just wanted to know what happened to him. My son died, full term, died, perfectly healthy, died. Why nobody was like calling the cops to investigate as to what the hell happened? Or not cops, you know what I mean? Why do you just not want to know what happened here? And it's because it shouldn't have happened. So I beat down the doors trying to find answers. It took me about 4 or 5 months before I got some answers as to what happened to him. In the 4 to 5 months, I was a psychopath, going over everything. I did it, you did it, everyone did it, who did it, what happened. It was something I ate, something I drank, the way I laid, But then it wasn't until I found the answers that I was like, it shifted. So it was relief because it was like, okay, it wasn't anything that I did. But oh my gosh, I wish I knew. Like, why wasn't my prenatal care better? Why weren't they educating me on this? Why wasn't I aware of fetal movement and all those things? And so it shifted to a little anger, like an anger spot. So you have to prep yourself for finding answers. It's totally fine to find answers. Mainly, so if you want another baby, you can avoid this from happening. But also, don't know what happened to your baby. My God, like, it died. He died. Anyway, so her finding out answers, I think, add another level of anger. And you have to be careful with that, because that anger space is like not good for us. It's not good for any of us. And so we have to be careful not to keep going back to that place, that blame, that this nurse did that midwife said that doctor didn't do that. So hard to be in that space. So she found out afterward with some blood work that she had Hashimoto's, and that had nothing to do with Verity's death. But the point is that there are certain blood tests and certain tests that should be done during our prenatal care in order to make sure that we're not running into some health issues personally that could cause death to our children. I unfortunately found out after Brody's death that I do have a blood clotting disorder. And while there's no evidence that it killed him, if I had known, then I would have probably been monitored way better and way more intensely. And I would have noticed and been more aware of his movements. So now moving forward with the next pregnancy, my doctors are going to want me on blood thinning shots, on Lovenox. And how did I not know about this before? Why are we not testing for these things? Why are we not testing? Do you know how many vials of blood? Well, you do know if you've done this. You give so much blood during your pregnancy. Just kind of add in there blood clot disorders, genetic stuff. What? I don't understand why not. So if you are pregnant though, and maybe you've had a loss or you haven't, look into getting that additional testing done. It doesn't hurt to just know. Then you have a full deck and you can choose what you want to do with it as an adult. You're given the information and you can choose what you want to do. Had no idea that there was a push time. Did y'all know that? Did not know that. Did not know that. I did not know that there's an average push time. What did she say? ACOG says the American, is it College or Council? I don't know. One of those of obstetrics and gynecology says 2 to 3 hours max to push. She pushed for 5. Unmedicated. I mean, I didn't know there was a push time. Now we know. But damn. She says something profound. Intent versus impact. It doesn't matter that you have good intentions if you're causing harm. Right? Think about that. People trying to do what they think is best for you is a good intention, but not if it's causing more harm to you than it should. And that's where they can't see around their own selves. You know what I mean? It's like, this is not part of her birth story. My intention is to follow her birth story, her birth plan. It's my intention to follow her birth plan. When it was doing harm, she should have been out of there and tossed the hospital. Let's go, That's the difference. And that's so interesting. And I've never really thought about that before. But I really do think that now we're all educating ourselves, taking that kind of thought, intent versus impact, and using that to advocate for yourself. Recognizing that this person is trying to do the right thing. Their intentions are good, but this is harmful. And let's scratch that. Let's get out of here with your intentions. Let's do this the right way, So it's a tough lesson to learn. It really is. She talks about the bills. Bills. You guys. The bills. I mean, some have more than others. I hemorrhaged with a DIC and had to have emergency surgery and several blood transfusions and all that stuff. So that was clearly a really hefty tab. But no one cares. I looked at you guys, don't look at the printout, like the itemized. It was like $20 for Tylenol. What? I should have just hustled it in from outside. Yeah, it's wild. And meanwhile, and this is like maybe, I don't know, you guys tell me what you think. If I could have traded all the cookies and food and flowers and cards and shit that went in the garbage for like a GoFundMe page. Why didn't we do that? I mean, I guess because no one really thinks about the fact that like you have a tremendous hospital bill and no baby. You have no baby. That's like the worst thing ever. And then you're not spending money on diapers or cute clothes or costume or like holiday outfits or Halloween costumes or whatever, or play dates or whatever it is. You're paying bills for months after. It's just so bad. And if anybody knows of any organizations where they like assist people with their bills, please drop it, because I would love to know if there's anybody out there who is kind of raising money to kind of help families who are suffering stillbirth or death of their baby after NICU stays, like help them with the bills. My gosh, what a great organization that would be. She talks about trauma response. which I don't know if you guys noticed, but you probably have it. I mean, I know I do, especially when I'm speaking to a doctor's office and they're rude or they tell me no. Yeah, I get a little triggered. I mean, I don't like burn the place down. I just get a little sass. No, you will do what I want you to do because last time you didn't, and here we are, I'm probably going to use that for the rest of my life. Yeah, you too? Okay. Phlebotomist. This is so bad, but I had to look up what that was. It's the person who draws blood, you guys. The person who draws blood. And I don't know about you, but I don't get along with them. It's not. So first of all, it is like, I wish you could see. I have no veins. I have no veins. And when they do find one, the sucker like rolls or it's like, and I know I'm hydrating. I'm drinking as much water as I physically can. But giving blood is very painful for me. And typically they miss and they get me right in the ligament. And I'm always like, you missed, get it out. And it's like hurts. And I don't care about needles. I'll jab myself with a shot. I jab myself with shots all the time. Medical shots, guys, not drugs. And so I don't care about that. They literally miss my veins. Not to mention, oh God, the other day, they talk about shit in front of you and you're just like, stop. You can't go anywhere. You're sitting in a chair, you're bleeding, gushing out. So this one the other day, I was in a doctor's office and it was a specialist office. I've had a stillbirth. I ain't pregnant yet. So you gotta fill in the blanks, right? This woman was on her phone, phlebotomist, showing everybody her best friend's baby. And she's like, my best friend had a baby yesterday. Look. And then her best friend also had a baby and everybody's having babies. I'm like, bitch, no, they're not. I'm not. Like, I'm here because of that. Like, do you guys like say anything in these moments? Like, I would love to know if you say something in these moments because it's kind of like, God, I wish I could. I should have. Well, they're poking me, so maybe I shouldn't. They have so much power, It's like, let me just be nice and get the hell out of here, and then later on I'll send a really, really nice review. Yeah, phlebotomists aren't the best. And I get like super, like, if they don't read the room, I get very like, wow, you suck at your job. I had a really great one the other day, though. She was dope. She used to work at like a meth, like, what was it? It was like a recovery home. And so she was used to finding, like, drawing blood and injecting people with medications who had no veins because of over drug use. So she was like really good at finding veins and she was awesome. It was like the least pain I've ever had. She was amazing. I wish I could remember her name. The awful platitudes, the toxic platitudes. Everything happens for a reason. It wasn't meant to be. Just look at the bright side. Those are really rough because they are, in my opinion, this is all this is it a get out of jail free card for people who don't know what to say. There is no emotional attachment to those words, in my opinion. And I've had a ton of platitudes. I've had a ton of condolences from hundreds of people, as of you, I'm sure. And it's like, I'm sorry for your loss. That one sucks. To me, that sucks the most. You could do better than that. Get a little bit more creative. I'm sorry to hear about Brody. I'm sorry to hear about Brody's death. I'm sorry at the loss of your Brody. I'm sorry that your son is gone. I'm sorry for your loss. Like, it's a little more than that. I don't know. It sounds like, I don't know. I don't like it. But there's such thing as toxic platitudes. They do more harm than good. And the whole goal here, guys, is when you have conversations with people, I really hope that they are trying to make you feel better leaving the conversation than when you started it, not worse. That's the thing. So these toxic platitudes are pretty rough and they exist, and you are welcome to hate them as much as we all do. You're not alone in that. That's for sure. If you want to correct people, you can be nice about it, I'd say. And then, people don't know. People don't know what you don't tell them. And especially in this space, we have to let people know what we really want from them, I think. And if you don't tell anybody, this means you don't really care about them, maybe. The movie Back to Zero. This comes up in some of my podcasts, but Back to Zero, I don't know if you guys seen it. Minnie Driver's in it. And I can't remember the guy. I was going to say Greg Kinnear, but it's not. I'm not sure who it is. Anyway, it's Minnie Driver. She has a stillbirth in this movie, you guys. I haven't watched it yet. I have not watched it. And I don't know if I will. Maybe one day. But she apparently is like some life coach, and then she goes and takes the vision board and she cracks it over a tree or something and breaks it. That is such a gigantic and profound metaphor or symbolism or example of what this is like. You have your life and you have things that you want. And remember that whole, like, The Secret, you put it into the universe. You work really hard. You go after things that you want. You manifest. And then when your baby dies, that literally all just goes out the window. That goes literally, like, it's almost a joke. It's like, well, now what? What do I envision for myself anymore? Because I certainly know that it might not happen. It's just you're robbed of that kind of ignorance or being naive to the fact that shit happens. Really bad stuff happens to people who don't deserve it. And I thought that was interesting. So if you guys have seen that, I'd love to hear your take on what happens in that scene. If you liked how it was done. Erica really liked how it was done. Someone else, I think it's Jenica's episode, if you haven't listened yet. She says that she likes how Minnie Driver reacts to the news that her son died or her baby died. But she laughs. Like, there's no way. This is a joke. I don't know if any of you laughed. Like, it's like something you can't believe. It's wild, you guys. And to have someone put that on a movie. Let me know if you guys watch it. So yeah, the false sense of control. That's a thing. That's kind of what I was just talking about. It's you think that you have control over the things that you do, the cause and effect. Like, I'm going to eat really clean. I'm going to exercise. I'm going to go to all my doctor's appointments. I'm going to do everything that I can do to keep this baby safe. I'm going to trust my body. I'm going to trust my healthcare professionals. Yeah, because if I can control all those things, then yeah, I'll have a healthy baby. Why would I not? And like after you get like anatomy scans and all of the testing done and everything seems perfectly and clear, it's like the only thing you have to worry about is just like, when is the baby coming and is it going to be a C-section or vaginal? Nope. My outcome to my pregnancy was the complete opposite of what the pregnancy, what should have resulted from the type of pregnancy that I had. And I'm sure you can probably say the same thing. And that's with everything now that I feel like I have no control. I really don't know if we do have any control. I mean, we can to a certain point, but understand that things can go south and that not everything turns out the way that you want to. To me, I feel kind of free knowing this now. And it kind of releases some sort of like, I don't know if it's pressure, but just expectations on things. Don't get me wrong, I still have hope and I'm still positive. But I'm just so aware that it may not go the way that I want it to, that anything's possible. So you think you have control, but you kind of don't. So then where does that leave you, Yeah. Triggers. We were talking about the triggers that we have. One of them is being labeled a trigger. I don't know if this is happening to you guys, but she did a podcast and the episode was labeled as a trigger warning because it mentioned baby death. I can see that in an arena where people don't expect it, but it does run the risk of people just grazing right by it and not listening to the helpful information that we have to say. Like, I feel as if maybe it should be thrown in people's faces, because if you're scared, you're going to pay more attention. That's just me. I wish someone had scared the crap out of me and maybe we wouldn't be in this situation. But I was so sheltered by the information out there and I was so terrified of the information out there. I just kind of wish I knew it, So my triggers, one, if you insinuate Verity doesn't exist, hold my beer. I've had people that aren't close to me, but close to people close to me, insinuate that Brody doesn't exist. Oh, so-and-so has no boy cousins. Okay, look. Yes, he does. Yes, he does. I gave birth to a son, like stuff like that. Or when you become a mom, like, no, I am one. Brody exists. He's still here. And I'll tell you why he exists, even though he's not here on this planet. Listen, Brody changed my life. Brody changed who I am. I didn't just wake up one day and I'm this version. Brody did it. There's a reason for my life and what it is right now, and that's him. Of course he exists. Of course I have a child. He changed me forever, whether he's living or dead. So there. I hate when people insinuate he doesn't exist. Now listen, there's triggers everywhere. Pregnant women, babies, commercials. I don't love when I go into a place and they just assume that I've never had a loss or assume that I'm in a good mental space. Like I don't love when they just assume we're all the same. I don't like that either. Big trigger. Hey, listen, no, my child died and you're not going to act like everything's peachy, I don't know. What are your triggers? Think about it. In the very beginning, I was very afraid of my triggers. I was like, there's going to be a bunch of babies there. I'm not going. Oh, this commercial sucks. Turn it off. Oh, there's this in this movie. Turn it off. And freaking out all the time. But what I did was I said, I can't live like this. So I decided to power through my triggers. I threw myself into like family zones, like, the patio weather, outdoor with fire pits, kind of restaurant with strollers and babies and dogs and families and kids and da-da-da. And I would just sit. And my body would shake because whenever I would hear a child, an infant, like my boobs would get all crazy and I'd get flushed. Your body is like triggered by the sound of a baby because it's looking for yours. God, that is such a horrible thought. Yeah. I think to this day it still does it. 10 months out, the sound of one just makes the hairs stand up and feels weird. I don't know about you guys. That's just what happens to me. But I powered through my triggers. I forced myself to sit through them. So now I can go places and just know it's going to sting for a second and then I just keep moving. But there are certain ones where I just can't let them go. And that may never change. And I'm okay with it. We talked about good stuff and bad stuff needs to be included, and I'm gonna clarify that. So in your prenatal visits, and everybody talks to you is always talking about the good stuff, and all the bad. Never gonna happen. That's totally fine. But I think in the conversation of all the wonderful things and all the good things that are going on in your pregnancy, we really need to be told about the bad. We're adults. Okay, we're making a child. We should have all the information so that we're properly informed on what to do. When we need to do it, if we need to do it. And if it scares the shit out of us, so what? We'll get over it. I truly think that when we sit down, 6-8 week appointment, oh, it's viable, it's in the right place, blah, blah, blah. P.S. 1 in 4 have a miscarriage. This is what usually happens. We're going to do our best. And then once we get to the second trimester and you reach a certain amount of weeks, it's considered a stillbirth. And this is what causes stillbirths. We're going to monitor closely. And then when we get to the third trimester, blah, blah. That would have been wonderful. I think it should happen. And maybe some of you did have a little bit of a glimpse into stillbirth, like the conversation, but I just really think it should be a part of like all of it. And like letting people know, especially the home birth. This is the risk of a home birth. This is what could happen. And this is our ripcord or whatever it's called when you're in trouble. If, something's going south, this is our plan of action. I really think that's what should happen. Shoot, I wish someone told me that I could potentially go into DIC after a stillbirth. I literally bled out and died. No clue that was a possibility. I don't know. We start a petition. How do we change it? We're working on it. I am working on it. So coping and things like that, and what we all choose to do in order to cope after our baby's deaths. Listen, hear me out. A lot of us in this space will urge you to do nothing and say, you don't have to do anything to honor your baby. You don't have to do anything in your pain or in your grief. If you want to wallow, wallow. If you want to stay in bed, stay in bed. You don't have to do anything. Just loving your baby's enough. I'm going to be honest. You don't have to do anything, of course, but it helps to do something. I'm serious. Getting up every day, finding just one thing that becomes maybe part of your routine, a way to honor your baby, a way to talk to your baby, a way to do something for yourself, maybe a project, whether it's a scrapbook, whether it's photos, a journal, a friggin' podcast. I don't know. I'm just saying. And everyone's different, loud or soft or quiet or harsh. I don't know. So whatever you want to do. But I'm telling you, it does help to turn your pain into purpose. It does. It gives you something to do, gives you something to distract your thoughts, and it helps the time go by because time starts to ease the heaviness of grief. Now, I'm not telling you to do something, but I'm telling you it helps. It really does, from my perspective. I'm not saying that you have to go do YouTube or podcast or write a novel or do anything like that, but I think it does really help to do something. That's just me. And I will probably always tell you to find something. Whatever it is. Find it. Find it. Trauma brain. You guys feel foggy? Like what's happening? Can't complete a sentence or a thought, or can't remember anything, or leaving your coffee mug in the microwave and your keys in the fridge. That's trauma brain. It's a thing. Yeah. Grief is also going to give you brain fog. It's really bad. I have a pretty bad memory right now. What am I even doing? I'm just kidding. So we also talked about out of order death. And I think categorically that is why baby death, child death, infant death is so horrific for so many people on the outside. Also us, of course, because it's out of order. It's not your great-grandparents. It's not your grandparents. It's not even your parents. And even I would say a partner. It's not in order, but parents should never bury their children. So the magnitude of this loss, it's up there, you guys. It's up there. That's why people look at you like they're shocked you're standing. That's why you feel like an alien in crowds when you're trying to talk to people, because you have suffered one of the most horrific things that the majority of people will never experience in their whole lives. And there's a lot of us out there, but we're not surrounded by us all the time. You know pain like a lot of people don't, but you know love like a lot of people don't. The magnitude in which you love, I would say, is exponentially more than for living children sometimes is your dead one. That's, clearly from what I've heard and from what I'm seeing and hearing, I'll stay tuned, but it's a magnitude that people just don't know, and they may never know. So you're not alone in that. Yeah, we're a bunch of aliens walking around trying to make the best of it. I was at a wedding a couple weeks ago. I kid you not, at one point I was like, what the hell is everything? What is everyone doing? I have no idea. I don't feel like small chatting. This food tastes like shit. Where's the bar? I don't like this song. I was like, what is going on? I didn't know what to do with myself. And I don't like that. I wanted to have a blasty blast, but it just couldn't connect with what was going on. I don't know. Y'all feel me? Ugh. Anyway. So wrapping it up here, we also talked about postpartum. Postpartum is a thing. We still have it. Hair came out. Boobs, milk is coming out. It's all part of this fun. It is. And it's horribly torturous. Let me get this straight. I carried a baby for 8.5 months. And then I have to push it out. I tear. I have no baby to feed. Baby weight that I can't get off because all I want to do is lay around. Ugh. postpartum was rough. I even had a line. Do you guys have a line on your belly? I had a line for like 6 months. And that was so horrible, like getting in the shower, just looking at it like, whew. But that belly was there. When it started to deflate, that was really depressing. Postpartum's a big deal. Not to mention the hormones on top of grief. Hormones are bad. Really bad. So you're not alone. So they'll make you feel even crazier. Like they'll make you very highs and lows. They try to put me on like Wellbutrin or something after that. Those medications actually made me feel worse. So if that's happened to you, that's totally normal. I stopped taking all medications just a couple weeks after and tried to just power through myself. I'm currently not on anything, but 10 months out, postpartum is kind of, except for the weight, which is coming off, but it's pretty rough, you guys. It's definitely a thing that nobody really talks about. And it would have been really nice. I don't know if your friends did this, but it would have been really nice if they were like, hey, how your boobs feeling? Did they change? Do they look? Yeah, same. Or how's the hair loss? Like, here's my tips. No one really checked in about all that stuff. I guess they were just afraid to make me sad. Maybe it would have. I don't know. And finally, we say, you do you, boo. You do this however you want to do this. You want to get answers? Get answers. You don't. You want to go after your medical team? Go after them. Leave a scathing review. Call a lawyer. I don't know. If you want to go, do it. You want to dig a hole, stay in it for a few days? Go for it. You want to go take on the world and write a screenplay? Do it. I don't know. You do this how you want to, and you do not have to give any explanations for your reasons. You don't. You don't have to tell people no, like why you don't want to show up to something. You don't have to tell people why you don't want to do something. You don't have to defend yourself. You do this how you need to do this. This is me doing this. We do it however we want to, you guys. And I'm here if you guys have any questions and things like that, And this is why I'm having these conversations with all these people, is so that you hear the personal account, what they've been through. So you can be like, me too. That makes sense. I hear you. Yeah. Or you may be like, what the hell is she talking about? That sounds nuts. Not me. Okay, fine. But if you pick up one thing, we're good. Yeah. So message me. Keep it clean. Keep it nice. I'm going to kick you off. And let me hear your comments. If you have any, follow me on Instagram, the Catherine Lazar. I am wildly open on there as well. So I'd love to interact with you there. Should be starting some lives soon. So trying to figure out how to do that on top of everything else. And more podcast episodes, of course. We cover all different types of topics, all different stages of grief after loss, and all different perspectives. And I'm still building on this, guys. So there's going to be so many more coming up. And always a breakdown afterwards. So make sure you like and share and hit subscribe so that you can get notified when I drop another episode, and you guys can be here to see it and listen. And I really do hope it helps. I really do. And I am so sorry you're here, but thank you so much for being here. And until next time, guys, you take care of yourself, Lost Mamas.